to speak today about the need for collaboration when it comes to cybersecurity, and I will, of course, build the bridge to innovation and to entrepreneurship. This has been one of my major topics in the past 10 years. When we look at cybersecurity for new technology, but also for old technology, we identify four important elements: the usage of the technology itself, the configuration of that technology, and the management of that technology. Now, to explain that a little bit, the technology is basically how it is built by the entrepreneur, how it is built by the vendor. The configuration is how it is set up before its initial usage. And the management is what the responsible technology team is doing throughout the life cycle. And this is an interesting challenge because most vendors and most inventors are very focused on the moment that the technology can actually be used and can actually be sold. We do not have enough focus on what happens after that. And some technology is used for maybe a few months, but other technology is used for 10 years and even longer. The usage is, of course, what then the end user is actually going to do with that technology. When we look at the cyber incidents, and my team researches that annually, when we look at 2019, we see a very interesting but also concerning picture. Roughly 9% of the technology of the cyber incidents is related to the technology. And that means that we're getting very good at building technology because we don't have that many incidents caused by the technology itself. If we look at all those conversations about the people being responsible for cyber incidents, then we notice that we actually have only 12% caused by the usage. And we see that the configuration is responsible for 32% of the cyber incidents, and the active management of the technology is responsible for 47%. That's almost half of all the cyber incidents is caused by failures and mistakes by the IT teams and the technologists and the technicians who are managing the technology as long as we are using it. If we take a closer look and we look at the configuration, we see that there isn't one big particular group which is worse than all the others. There are issues like copy pasting. It happens a lot that the wrong configuration is copied or the wrong image is copied, etc. It's versioning, it's scales, it's using technology for a different purpose than it was designed. As soon as we look at management, the story becomes different. Abandoned technology is with 21% responsible for the biggest part of cybersecurity incidents. And abandoned technology means that, for example, technology is used although there are no security patches available. Abandoned technology also means that a device is put somewhere and there are still patches available and security updates, but they're not installed. So that technology is in an old state. And when we follow a little bit what happens in the cyber sphere, we see that there are new vulnerabilities coming out every single day. So abandoned technology is the biggest single cause of cyber incidents. When we look at that, we see that there is a shared responsibility, and that shared responsibility needs to focus at the 91% human error responsible for cybersecurity incidents. In the industry, we should look at common standards. A lot of them is available. NIST has a perfect standard. BSI offers some very good standards. Security framework, again, NIST and BSI. We need to focus on transparency. We need to inform each other about what is happening. We need to inform each other also about the issues that we have. We need to focus on testing and validation. Partners, knowledge transfer, upskilling, accept that we're all in the same boat. And we need to look at life cycle management. And I am going to talk to you in a little bit about the importance of life cycle management when we are creating new and innovative products. And I will talk a little bit about the importance of the protection of your reputation and your products from a cyber perspective after it is brought to the market. Now, there's a couple of things going on, and it was mentioned earlier as well. There is a political agenda which is again focusing on isolation of certain partners, preference of own local partners, trying to impose sanctions, etc. And that is risky because no matter how we turn it and no matter what we try to do, if we just look at the situation with China, still the majority of technology and components is produced and manufactured in China. If we start cutting off those suppliers, we are not collaborating when it comes to cybersecurity, and that means we are continuing to put a large segment of products out on the market, and we're not handling the lifecycle management. Collaboration, from my perspective, and a lot of my colleagues agree on that, collaboration throughout the industry and with all innovators, and including all the universities who are building and growing the next generation of innovators, is extremely important. We need to focus on knowledge transfer. We need to focus on patches and patching. We need to focus on testing and auditing and create standard frameworks. But we also need to keep in mind that connectivity and technology are developing so extremely fast that it's most likely that last year's standards are missing a few points. So the same way and the same pace in which we innovate, we also need to keep reviewing our cybersecurity standards. So if we look at that from a big picture approach, and I will speak to that in a few seconds. If we look at it from a big picture approach, then we see that the shared responsibility from the innovator to the vendor, to the component supplier, to the partner who is using the technology, the service provider who makes the technology available, the 32% configuration and the 47% in management issues are all covered by these 8 action items throughout the industry and between partners. And the short and basic message is we have to get better than this.